Hi and welcome to the Fussball channel. I'm your host, Markus Fjørtoft, and as always joined by co-host Jan Fjørtoft, who you'll see in this screen. And we are sitting together, Dad, but we thought it would be more conducive to the overall recording. Now we have the cameras on us, but good to do a little studio in person.
Yeah, and we are in Manchester, and the reason you're here is because tomorrow, Tuesday, is the PFA Award. It's going to be exciting to see who will be the team and who will be the best players. And I've done the start of the English League. So tonight, so listen to people will listen to this, they will know the results, but it's Leeds Everton. And I've done Liverpool, Bournemouth, Wolverhampton City, Manchester United, Arsenal. So it's been a busy start to the season, and I look forward to the German Bundesliga start the coming weekend.
Yeah, we gave ourselves a little buffer. Obviously, the Bundesliga weekend starting this upcoming weekend. We are recording this earlier in the week. We have had, however, the first German competitive game, the Super Cup. Bayern beat Stuttgart, the Woltemade derby, so to speak. Any overall reflections after that game?
Well, first of all, Woltemade, Bayern tried to increase their offer. Was not enough for Stuttgart, and you never know in football. You never know in transfer activities. The last 2 weeks, they can get panic, and suddenly Stuttgart think, wow, if we get 50, 60 million euro, we will let them go, maybe have a bad season. Remember, Woltemade had half a great season, so that is to take it into account. Bayern with their first title, Diaz scoring, Kane scoring. I think that is a combination we will hear more about later. So Bayern is on the track again.
Yeah, it seemed to that Bayern would accept paying the 60 million euros, and then Stuttgart and I guess the sports management and the board were a bit different in their opinion, then suddenly asked for 75 million. Whether that is something Woltemade is worth, I think is time for a separate discussion. But we are doing the Bundesliga predictions, and so we'll be doing it a bit differently. So we obviously are here in person doing it together. We've also got some of our friends of the podcast who will be coming in with their predictions. So while Dad and I give our little Bundesliga prediction, you'll see the categories. They'll also be in the bio of the descriptions on YouTube or on audio platforms. But we will have them chime in every now and again into the episode and give them their predictions. But basically what we've done is splitting into individual and team predictions, and we'll start that with the individual predictions, and we're going to go straight into player of the season.
Well, it's hard not to go to Bayern. I mean, they will probably win. They are the favorites to win. It's the same in England when you do the prediction. When you have a reigning champion that picks 4 or 5 great players in, you have to put them as favorites. And I will just say, as I remember, Marcus, we need also ask our viewer or listeners to also put in their predictions in their commentary, and we'll follow up. That is a good thing about prediction. We have all the same ability to make predictions because you see how often this wrong. So if you go to Bayern, I think Diaz will play a role in the terms that people will love his attitude, will love his energy, we love his intensity. I followed Diaz for many seasons now here in the Premier League. Harry Kane will keep on scoring goals. I mean, this is a very important year for him as well because he's got straight into the World Cup for England. Of course, a lot of ambitions. Having said that, I met Thomas Tuchel yesterday. He was in the Manchester United tunnel, so we had a little chat there, speaking to his players. I like that. He was viewing the game, viewing his players, the candidates there, and then afterwards he's in the tunnel talking to them. I like that with Saka, Mason Mount that he used to have at Chelsea, of course. So my player of the year, I will go very, very safe, and I will say that top scorer, Harry Kane, will also be the player of the year because I think this season he knows what it's all about.
Yeah, and I think, depends on how original or unoriginal we want to go about it, but tends to be that the champions or the top 2, top 3 get their player of the season in terms of sheer profiles in the Bundesliga. We've unfortunately seen Florian Wirtz leave, Marmoush in January, Hugo Ekitike, Šeško, Xavi Simons might leave. The profiles for the rest of the clubs then tend to be lesser, so to speak, and then you're left with a Harry Kane, Luis Diaz, and Michael Olise as well.
Olise had a great season. Yeah. That's why I was wondering why, because we're not talking transfers here in the wider perspective, why they don't go after Eze. also from Crystal Palace, same type as Olise. As we're speaking, it seems that he's on his way to Tottenham. But that surprised me a bit because I think that he could have been a hit at Bayern as well. But Olise had a fantastic season. Not a great interviewer because he doesn't barely speak. When you go through the Dortmund team, who could be the candidates there? It's hard to find any other candidates than the Bayern players. If I go to Eintracht Frankfurt, you can say Johnny Buchart in his first season with Eintracht Frankfurt as a number 9 there. It was great to meet him. He's a down-to-earth Eintracht Frankfurt fan and has played for Mainz. He went there with his dad to Eintracht. So now I would stick with Harry Kane.
Yeah, and I will say, I think Luis Diaz will be player of the season. I think he can make enough of an impact. And then we will see. We'll get to the predictions of the other guests of the podcast later. With that settled, I think we're going to signing of the summer, and there's a lot of exciting different transfers. I have the iPad in front of me here, looking at the various ones. It's tough, obviously. Leverkusen have brought in a fair few of theirs. There will be a lot of changes there. We'll get into that when we talk about the top 4. Amongst the lower teams, lower table teams as well, there's been a few exciting ones as such. I'm looking in front of me here in terms of the sheer profile of a signing, maybe more shrewd signings than big profile signings in the Bundesliga right now.
Yeah, it's all about finding the market. I mean, German football, the Bundesliga is more of a selling the profiles. I mean, they build up profiles in the German league. And as you were talking about the big names who go on to English football, is more or less all with their background from the Bundesliga, and I saw some of them this week in Ekitike scoring. Šeško came on, didn't that succeed? Frimpong for Liverpool and so on. Florian Wirtz had a quiet game to be Florian Wirtz, but still he has started. It was a special night at Anfield because of the Jota events or the memory, and they did that fantastically, by the way. It was a very special atmosphere there. So I will go Eintracht, Marcus, and the reason I do that is that I was there when that was published. I was there. I was sitting with Markus Krösche, the head of sport, one of the best recruiters in the world, and he went there for I think around 21 million euros. He came from Freiburg. He will play on the right, but have a left foot. So he's the kind of Robben kind of role. I mean, or Salah. If you make a modern player, he will come in, and I think he'll be great also for the strikers at Eintracht. So I would say Doan. I think that's good business. And when you see the players they've sold with Ekitike and Marmoush, and then reinvest in that money in that kind of player, I think that is great business, as is Buchart, because I think that he is a typical number 9. I think he will get his fair share of goals. And of course, he knows that every striker develops in Frankfurt. But he's that kind of guy that you feel he wants to stay in Frankfurt, but you never know. But I'll go Doan.
Yeah. And we have to also remember that Eintracht's model is so that they are prepared to selling the likes of an Ekitike or a Marmoush, that they have players coming up, and we'll get into sort of the young players as well. But there's plenty of players there in terms of who they recruit. I think 21 of the 26 last signings were 21 and below, and so you have the mix of players that have great energy, great talent, can still develop, good resale value, and also prepared to take the next step and replace the ones like Ekitike and Marmoush.
Yeah, and 2 things about that, Marcus, because that's a very valid point. One is that I think they will have 4 or 5 that they think they could sell straight away for a lot of money. Hugo Larsson, for example, just using an example. And there was a very good interview with Axel Hellmann in Kicker where he spoke about that, because the model is like the value of the players they have in their squad can't be taken out when you kind of value the organization, so to say, if you know what I mean. Because that is, I mean, the governing bodies will say, yeah, but you can say that he's worth 100, or the other can say, but he's 50. But that is an interesting thing now, because the likes of Bayern or Stuttgart, say Stuttgart, they can say, yeah, but we had an offer for him, Woltemade, for 60. We want 75. So they can go to someone and say, that is the value we have, so we can invest more of that money. Fair enough. I say there are two sides to the argument here, but it's interesting. But it's a very sustainable way of running a football club. Like for Eintracht Frankfurt now, knowing that if they want, and if took two telephone calls to some English clubs, they can sell 4 or 5 players.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see, but Ritsu Doan definitely fits into the way that Eintracht play as well. I'm going to go with another former Eintracht player. I'm going to go with Jesper Lindström, who finds himself back on loan now to Wolfsburg. It'll be interesting to see the look Wolfsburg have in terms of, I think it's one of the more open Bundesliga tables, and then we'll get into that when we predict the table. It's very hard to say when even going from 4 and down to 12, 13, 14. I think it's hard to say, but we've seen what Jesper Lindström has accomplished in the Bundesliga before, playing in a league which he's familiar, a bit more expansive, hasn't had the best of times perhaps after leaving Eintracht. I think Jesper Lindström will be up there. Looking at others, I came across one, obviously a centre-back as well. Köln, who I think will take people by surprise, positively speaking. They signed a centre-back from Middlesbrough, Rav van den Berg, who I think will be a very good ball-playing centre-back for Köln as well. Again, we could go through the list in terms of a lot of these shrewd, lesser-known signings, and we'll start a discussion on that on our YouTube channel as well. But more those smarter signings. But with that being said, let's have a little listen to what Seb Stafford-Bloor from The Athletic and Derek Ray think of the individual predictions so far.
Okay, so player of the season is going to be super unoriginal. I'm going to go Luis Diaz. Sorry, could have been more creative with that. Signing of the summer, Jan Diomande from RB Leipzig. Got a really good feeling about his impact and how he may develop. Young player of the season, let's be adventurous. I'll say Nelson Viper from Mainz.
Hello, Markus and Jan, and all Bundesliga fans. This is international football commentator Derek Ray. And here we go with my predictions for the new Bundesliga season. I think the player of the season is going to be Michael Olise. He was wonderful in his first campaign here in Germany, and I see no reason why he won't push on even more. The signing of the summer, well, time will tell. I'm going to give my vote to Jarell Quansah of Leverkusen. A lot of money spent, but they needed to spend a lot of money. Jonathan Tah has left. And I think Jarell Quansah is the sort of ball-playing defender who will prosper with the Werkself. Young player to watch. How about 17-year-old Lennart Kahl of Bayern? Doesn't turn 18 until February. I think with Jamal Musiala out for the medium term, he's going to get quite a lot of game time. The build-up is already pretty big where Kyle is concerned, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in action.
And that was Derek Ray and Seb Stafford-Bloor with their predictions. That the next one is the young player to watch. I mean, Bundesliga are known to develop their fair share of young and up-and-coming talents. Who is your young player to watch this season?
I will go a bit populistic. I will go a bit because people should know about it because it's an interesting deal. So you have Jude Bellingham making a career at Dortmund.
Yep.
Goes to Real Madrid, and in the shortest of times, one of the profile in the whole football world. Not only what he's doing on the pitch, but very polite, come from a family that has been educated their kids on and off the pitch. So now you have Job Bellingham going to Dortmund. Eintracht wanted to have him as well, but I guess they knew what they had in Dortmund. They knew will take his way. I'm interested to see if he can take the next step. There will always been a kind of thing around him saying he's just there because he's a Bellingham. But this is a great player. Yeah. I mean, and he did well for them. But how great he is going to be is that he will always be compared with his brother. I mean, first of all, he looks like his brother. He's unbelievable. I mean, you think they are twin. Yeah. They're not. I remember when Real Madrid won the Champions League and they were walking around there with their family. I don't know the family, but it looks like a very knitted family. They stick together. His dad was a striker in the lower leagues in England. I mean, it's a great story, and they look after themselves. So he's going to Dortmund, a Dortmund team that after Niko Kovac, what he did last season, kind of have a saving action plan to and got him into Champions League, was very impressive. And to take the next step, then he could be at a great place for him. But we'll see. I mean, but I warn people not to kind of compare him with Jude all the time, because Jude is exceptional, and you have players that can take more time, but wow, we got the potential. So I would put him there.
It will be interesting to see what constitutes a good season for him as well. It's so easy to make those comparisons, but we did see him score in the Club World Cup as well. And without any sort of pronounced star profile in the Dortmund team, it is a case of him being able to step into that as a key player for Dortmund. I'm just looking in front of me in terms of the young players. I mean, we have the obvious candidates. We have a Pavlovic and a Bischoff at Bayern. We have Joe Bellingham. We have a Nusa, the Norwegian winger, still only 20 years old, and very much.
He's all about for him to be kept fit.
Yeah.
I mean, I could say Nusa, because we know we're going into our autumn now, where the Norwegians, if we win our 3 home games, I think we're at the World Cup, and Nusa is a key, because he's that kind of player who could change a game.
Exactly.
To see enthusiasm. So Nusa, I mean, wow, keep himself fit, put him in some kind of protection modus, and get him going, because he will be very important for RB Leipzig this season.
Absolutely, and definitely having to step into a further key role as some of their.
Oh yeah, they could sell. They have sell Seshko. They will probably sell Simons. They could sell Openda. So he will turn in an age of 20 into a key player.
From a centre-back point of view, obviously you have Finn Jelsch at Stuttgart, Bichwabi at RB Leipzig, and Kouriakis at Wolfsburg. Paul Van Ram, I'm curious of if he stays. Derek mentioned Leonard Karl at Bayern.
Oh, he's been doing well there. It's very impressive, scoring goals. And Paul Vanner it's all about that strategy that Bayern got. I think Bayern need desperately to have 2 or 3 young kids going through. Yes, you have Stavlovic.
Yeah, Pavlovic,
Pavlovic. And then they are desperate to get more players in there, because that is a part of how you sell Bayern. It's a part of that club thing they want to have, like all the other big clubs that will have some young kids in there as well.
And quite frankly, if you think back to some of the foremost Bayern players over the last decade, Toni Kroos, Leverkusen as well, obviously, but David Alaba, Joshua Kimmich, who they actually bought.
Schweinsteiger, Müller.
Yeah, and Kimmich they bought off the back of a Zweite Bundesliga season, right? Yeah. So you have these young German talents who now are pronounced world stars, but someone like Leonard Karl, a Pavlovic, a Bischoff, you already have a base there, and you have the other players coming in the back as well. So I think whether willingly or willingly Bayern make it a strategy of having young players, I think it's still important for their future competitiveness.
But it's nearly as they are as a bit the victim of that exceptional generation. It's a bit like Manchester United, the class of '92. Mm-hmm. It will always be, I remember when we had Beckham and Neville, Scholes, but it was like unbelievable how many they put through. But Bayern and Max Eber has been told, get us the best players, get us young players, and save money. Mm-hmm. So it's a tough job for Max Eber.
It is a tough job, but at least they have some of the players coming up. I am, without being too Eintracht repetitive, I am very curious of Can Özün, who had his first season in the Bundesliga last season. Now with some of the key players leaving, he can be able to find his role there, started in the last cup game. Seb also mentioned Nelson Viper, who led the line with Woltemade in the under-21s Euros, scored 4 goals in 6 games there. Burkhardt has left. There's possibilities for him as well to assume a role. So I'll actually go with Nelson Viper then. Let's hear what Patrick Berger and Christian Falk made of their individual predictions.
So the player of the season for me, there's just one call. It could be Michael Olise, what a player, outrageous one, super speedy, good quality, very, very dangerous for the defender. So Michael Olise is my pick for this season. The signing of the summer, of course, everyone is talking about Luis Diaz. What a player, comes from Liverpool, from the Premier League, superstar at Bayern with a big package around 70 million euros. So this is, of course, my choice, but I'm not 100% sure if he can meet the big expectations. So my call afterwards is Ernest Poku. Very, very interesting player, 21 years old from AZ Alkmaar, now playing for Bayer Leverkusen. Top speed, good at dribblings. So at the wing, Ernest Poku is one of the very interesting player to watch at this season. Young player to watch, for me, it's Ebu Bekir, is 16 years old. Wow, what a player. I'm pretty sure that Jan knows him very well. He's from Eintracht Frankfurt, a playmaker, super dangerous, just 16 years old. He had some minutes at the Europa League last season, so one to watch. I'm 100% sure that he will get some minutes at Frankfurt in the new season, and I'm sure that he will play in the Champions League as well.
So my player of the season could be Nick Woltemade. If he's not allowed to go to Bayern Munich, I think then he will show how good he is and he will go to the World Cup. I think the signing of the summer is Luis Diaz. He has the biggest name, he's coming from Premier League, and it was a lot of money Bayern Munich spent, over 70 million euros. I think he will do many goals and will be a very good scorer. The young player to watch is Leonard Karl. He is the big hope for Bayern Munich, and he showed it already in the preparation. I hope he's getting playing time. I think he will be the next big surprise in the league.
And while we're at it, we will hear what Kevin Hatchard, Sky Sports, has to say on his individual predictions as well.
Starting off with my player of the season, I'm going to go for Michael Olise. I thought he was the best player in the Bundesliga last term. I think he'll continue to get goals and assists for Bayern, and he's become such an important player for them already. In terms of the young player to watch out for, I think Jan Diomande is going to be excellent for RB Leipzig. He's a teenage winger that's come in from Leganés. He's quick, he's skillful, and he's really exciting.
That we're going into the collective prediction, so to speak. I want to get your top four in the Bundesliga this season.
And Marcus, I put my glasses on, and now then you know it's serious, because I think it's after Bayern. You can, when you do the German Bundesliga, you have a 1, and then you have 2 to 9-ish, and then you have 9 to 15-ish, and then you have the relegation candidates. So I will go Bayern. I mean, you have to go Bayern. He has steadied the ship. He has won the titles. I mean, there's another discussion about how they can compete in Europe. I will say Dortmund. I think that Niko Kovac will take them to the next step as well. Then I will go Frankfurt again, a bit with my heart, because I think that we müssen die Kirche im Dorf lassen. How to translate this is that we shouldn't go over us, because I think that when you sell Ekitike, you sell Marmoush, you sell an awful lot of goals. So it's not like 1-to-1 just to replace them. But I will go Eintracht Frankfurt there. I will go Stuttgart as number 4. I think Hoeneß managed now to keep Woltemade as we speak. They won the cup. I rate him as a manager. And the 5th place, I will just take that as well, because I want to explain that. Leverkusen, I put them outside my top 4. Now I understand why they took Erik ten Hag, because they knew that there would be so many new players sold. If you go for Alonso is more a guy that could take them to the next step. And if you took a Fabregas, and we talked about that before, the same profile, Erik ten Hag, he knows what it's like. He's been at Manchester United. He's done that in Ajax, and I mean Frimpong. Yes, you can understand that you lose him. Florian Wirtz as well, but wow, Xhaka as well. You miss your leader.
And Lothar Matthäus made that point as well. Is that you could understand the departures of Wirtz, Frimpong, etc. But the Xhaka one, that's probably the one that maybe hurts them, because I feel like they could have prevented that in more.
Yeah, we don't know the conversations there. But Xhaka, if Xhaka wanted to go back to the Premier League, he wants to go to Sunderland. He trains for 10 minutes and they make him captain. Yeah. Just shows you how important he is. We also remember when he was at Arsenal, he lost his captaincy and still had a fantastic season. So that's going to be tough for them, and that's why I put Leverkusen outside the top 4.
And will they be your disappointment of the season as such then?
I don't know, because I don't have the big expectations. If I put them in 5th, then they will be 5th. I'm more disappointed that that it seemed they missed the goalkeeper Radetzky. They miss a lot of players. They're missing
they're missing a core leadership as well, right?
Yes, and that's unbelievable when you have a top team. 2 seasons ago they won the league, and then just everything goes away, and that is a bit weakness for them. So I'm more disappointed that they didn't manage to keep that team together. Having said that, they managed to get Florowitz out of Germany, so they didn't make Bayern because that was down to Florowitz as well. But now it won't be. But the disappointment of the season,
You have no RB Leipzig though in the top 4.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm more maybe that I'm not sure how they will bounce back. I think they could be not a disappointment of the season because they were 7th last season, but everybody expects them to bounce back now. It's going to be interesting to see both Leverkusen and Leipzig try to build up a new team, develop a new team, and that is the hardest for a manager and it's the harder for a club is to build a new team.
I have Bayern, Dortmund, Eintracht, RB Leipzig. My disappointment of the season will be Leverkusen just because of where they've been. I think controversially perhaps, but I think Erik ten Hag is one of the most difficult jobs in the Bundesliga right now, despite him having more money to work with, so to speak. But they are severely lacking, yes, in quality, but also in terms of a core leadership. When you also have Radetzky, who wouldn't even start, and Mark Flecken is arguably an upgrade on that. But you have him, Xhaka, and you go kind of point to point throughout that kind of core, and they're gone. There's an obvious quality, and you have a Kwanzaa, and you have a Tillman, etc. But to replace not only the quality but the experience, leadership, I think will be a very tough task. And I don't know if I think it will be a tough task for any manager coming in.
I think it will. Having said that, this will be even tougher for Erik ten Hag because people will kind of describe him as a failure at Manchester United.
Yeah.
But I quote because a failure. He took 2 cup triumphs. I mean, and you saw last season they ended in the 15th place in the Premier League. Erik ten Hag would say that would never have happened under me. Of course, he would say that. He's back to Germany. Germany. A bit about his background. He was in the second team of Bayern Munich when Pep Guardiola were there. So I think he got a leadership quality, show that at Ajax. But I'm with you. That's the leadership throughout the team will be hard. I saw they make Andrich captain. I mean, that is a signal of what kind of...
But who didn't start last season, right?
Yeah, so exactly. It's in and out of the team. So,
exactly, and it just shows how much they kind of are looking for that said profile. They'll need a strong season from Schick. I'll just say with RB Leipzig, so my disappointment season, we Leverkusen, but RB Leipzig with Ole Werner there, and you can kind of flip it because part of the disappointment I think could be Bremen as well, who were 8th or 9th, I believe, last season. Did a good job at Bremen to get them that high. Lost Marvin Duksch to Birmingham, but RB Leipzig and with Ole Werner will be interesting to see in terms of his imprint on the team. But I do wonder if RB Leipzig, if it suits them. Not, I mean, remember last season a lot of them predicted to challenge for the league because of what Leverkusen did, and far kind of fell under those expectations. 7th last season. Maybe it suits them that they're back to what they were in terms of a selling team, young players coming in. We discussed Nusa, that Diomande, who's an interesting profile as well, Bakayoko from PSV, even though he had a bit of a shaky end to that spell, and they brought in Romulo from Göztepe to bring in a Šeško's successor. Some kind of players that need to prove themselves, younger, unaccounted for. I think it could go the other way, in which Ole Werner, a very talented coach at that, could guide them back to top 4. And without European football as well, mind you, there shouldn't be any excuse. Relegation, that we have the 2 spots plus the playoff. Who are you worried about in this regard?
I'm worried about my friend Horst Held at Union Berlin. It's entweder oder. I'm not sure which direction they will go. I think Augsburg with Sandro Wagner could be... he's seen as one of the most talented communicator coaches. He was assistant coach for Julian Nagelsmann, and now he's back. He says, okay, I'll leave you. A World Cup down the road, and he won't be around because he wants to fulfill his action. It's very interesting to see where Augsburg will be. Because Sandro Wagner could be one of those coaches that you will be at the big clubs. I
always like to compare, as well, that Augsburg, it's a bit like the West Ham syndrome when they got rid of David Moyes, because they've reached the most success they've ever had, won the Conference League, and then they want to go that extra step. And Augsburg, I guess, have always been that grey mouse in the Bundesliga where you thought, okay, they're doing well. And they were doing okay under Jes Torup, didn't play as exciting football. And then you bring in a Sander Wagner who's exciting new profile, play more exciting. But maybe Augsburg, that is Augsburg's level such, and they're bringing in Sander Wagner to bring to the next level, but there is that risk as well.
Yeah, there is always a risk, but it comes from he's been by Bayern. He knows he's all about winning. He's pragmatic in the terms. Everybody speaks highly of him. I don't think he's a romantic. I think that is just romance football. I think he will be in there. So my relegation, I will get Union Berlin on the relegation on the playoff.
And lost Hollerbach, who went to Mainz, their best player. So that's
correct. I'm with you that Werder Bremen will struggle, but I don't think it will go all the way. Then I will say Heidenheim and St. Pauli going down. That I don't like to say that because especially St. Pauli is very charming for the league. I know you got Hamburger Sportsverein up as well, so I will say that Hamburger Sportsverein will save their position. Yeah, we're waiting so long, and we are always talking about HSV. What they have done of failures in the Zweite Liga, they are back. So I will go St. Pauli down and Heidenheim down.
Yeah, I think Heidenheim will struggle. I mean, if you're a Heidenheim fan, they've accomplished pretty much beyond their expectations. Not many signings, if any. Their transfer output has been €0. I think that will be very tough for them. So Heidenheim will go down. I think we're all pretty unison in that regard. I think Hoffenheim will have a tough season. I'm not overly hopeful. 15th last season, some okay recruitment, but nonetheless, I'm not convinced. And then St. Pauli, I think, will be relegation playoff. I think they warmed up to the Bundesliga, but the 32-point mark last season, they stayed up beyond expectations. 32 was a low tally. Bremen, I think, will just about survive. And then you have Hamburg, who, despite maybe some
Paulsen.
And Paulsen, they brought in a much-needed leader there. I think they brought in a good amount of signings. I think you'll see them strong enough. And they replaced Selke. He went to Turkey, who was a great Zweite Bundesliga striker, and brought in someone with proven Bundesliga.
Yeah, and I think the enthusiasm around that club. Just remember, this is a big club. It's unbelievable that they've been in Zweite Liga for so long. This is a club that won the European Cup 40 years ago. I mean, I'm not saying that, but it's a culture there somewhere. And then you see we have all these teams like Gladbach. We don't mention them for up or down. So there is these teams in the middle of the German Bundesliga. You don't feel they will have something to do with Europe, and they won't have something to do with the relegation battle. But we all know that could. I put Union down, but if Union got to run, great home ground. They stick to their principles. You want them to do well, but I guess analysis is going to be based on what you think and not what you hope for.
And let's hear what Seb, Kevin, and Derek have to say about their predictions.
My top four: FC Bayern Munich, RB Leipzig, Borussia Dortmund, Eintracht Frankfurt. Right, a bit harder now. Relegation, goodness. Heidenheim, Augsburg, and into the playoff I will put Werder Bremen. Surprise of the season. Hey, HSV, I think they'll be a lot better than people are expecting. Really like some of the signings they've made. And disappointment. Erik ten Hag's Bayer Leverkusen. Don't feel very good about that. They've lost so much.
In terms of the top four, I'm going to go for Bayern, obviously. I think Borussia Dortmund will get in there a lot more comfortably than they did last time. Bayer Leverkusen will just about do enough. And I think because RB Leipzig aren't distracted by Europe, I think they're going to be able to get in as well. In terms of the signing of the season, maybe Joe Bellingham at Borussia Dortmund. I think he's dynamic. I think he's exactly what Dortmund need in that midfield area. But watch out for Vinny Souza as well at Wolfsburg. Really destructive midfielder who I think is going to be made for the Bundesliga. In terms of the biggest overachievers, well, that's going to be potentially Wolfsburg. They've been really struggling the last few seasons to get any kind of rhythm, but I think with Mohamed Amoura in attack, a new coach, and Vinny Souza, who I mentioned, they could do a lot better than people expect. And I think maybe the biggest regression might be Mainz. They, of course, did brilliantly to qualify for Europe last season, but without Jonathan Burkhardt, I think they could take a step backwards. In terms of relegation, I think Heidenheim are probably going to struggle again. It could be them and Köln in the bottom two. Union Berlin, I'm not convinced by them under Stefan Baumgart. They could end up in the playoff.
My Bundesliga top four. I think it will be Bayern by a considerable margin in this campaign, followed by Borussia Dortmund, Eintracht Frankfurt and RB Leipzig. I don't think Leverkusen this season will be a top four side. Who will be demoted? This is always difficult, and I mean no disrespect to the two clubs who I've selected, but I'm going to say St. Pauli, although not totally confident about that, because they do have the capacity to surprise, and I like the work that Alexander Blessin has done, but with their smaller budget, it's going to be difficult. And I think Heidenheim, who had that narrow escape, beating Elversberg in the relegation playoff last time around, I think Heidenheim will go down as well. Who will be in the relegation playoff? I say Hamburg. Haven't had a great pre-season. Massive club, of course. Great to have them back after 7 years. I think it's going to be a testing time for Hamburg in the Relegation, the two-legged relegation playoff next May. The surprise of the season, well, as an adopted Kölner, I've got to say, yes, the FC Köln. I think that with the squad they have and with the signings they have and with Lukas Kwasniok as coach, they are going to surprise a few people, and I'm going to predict a finish of around 12th or 13th for Köln, which I think would be acceptable to most people here in the Domstadt. My disappointment, Mainz 05. I say that only because I think their plate is full with European commitments as things stand, and maybe the only way is down. Doesn't mean it'll be completely terrible for Mainz, but I'll be surprised if they're back in Europe, and I see for Mainz maybe a mid-table or bottom half finish. So there we go. Back to you guys.
And that leads us to the last category, and that is surprise team of the season.
I think that Stuttgart, throughout, they fought off Bayern as we speak. They captain Woltemade. Somehow Sebastian Hoeneß will use that and the triumph in the Pokal to be back in chasing for the Champions League at least, but also annoying Eintracht and maybe Dortmund as it's the main challenger for Bayern.
And it's pretty open, as we said, behind Bayern as well. I think there's no reason why Stuttgart couldn't be a fourth. Remember, a couple of seasons ago, they ended up second. Yeah. I will do my surprise team of the season. You might have heard Derek have said it as well. I think Köln will certainly be up there. Made some smart signings. Marius Bülter as well, who we know very well from the Bundesliga, is there. Had a strong preseason. Beat Atalanta in the preseason 4-0. But I will go with something different than what Derek said then, and I will go with Gladbach. And I know Tim Kleindienst, recently named captain, he's out for a fair bit. Could very well lead the line for Germany in the Club World Cup, the World Cup. With Seane and Wirkus there, I think they brought in enough players. They brought in Makino, who we remember performed very well for a very poor Holstein Kiel team. I think they will have a decent enough core in which they can compete. They were mid-table. I think, again, it's very open at the back there. Obviously lost Itakura to Ajax, lost Alassane Plea, so lost quality. But they have enough experience there, enough quality, I think, to be able to surprise us. And with the likes of Freiburg, obviously, will be there, and Mainz are in around the European spots. But at the same time, I think it's pretty open. And yeah, that leads us to the last bit of the predictions from Patrick and Falk.
So the top four for me, first choice is Bayern Munich. They're going to win the Bundesliga afterwards. Borussia Dortmund going to be a big, better team than the last year. Big opponent on the third place. It's RB Leipzig and then Eintracht Frankfurt. So relegation, unfortunately, I think that the three northern clubs with St. Pauli, Hamburg and Bremen gonna get some problems, but I think that at the end St. Pauli and Heidenheim will go down directly and the playoffs will play Werder Bremen. I'm not 100% sure of the quality of that team, and I think that they will become or get a lot of problems this season. So the surprise of the season, for me, there can be two clubs with Wolfsburg and with Augsburg, but I go for FC Augsburg, top manager and coach with Sandro Wagner.
My top 4, of course, Bayern Munich will be number 1. I think Dortmund number 2, Frankfurt number 3, and Stuttgart will make to the Champions League on place number 4. For the relegation, I see Hoffenheim and Heidenheim, because I think Cologne and Hamburg are coming up now in the league. They are too strong, they are two big clubs, and in the relegation I see Hamburg, but I think they will stay in. The big surprise of the season, I think, is Union Berlin. I think it will fit together with Baumgart, the coach. We saw it at the end of the last season. And I think the big disappointment will be Leverkusen, because they lost so many players. Wirtz, Xhaka, I think this will be the main thing. Frimpong and the new coach Ten Hag. I think they will really have problems to go to Europe.
And that was the last round of the predictions from the friends of the podcast, that we will see how this ends. The predictions are always a little fun. We would love to hear what people have to say as well, their predictions. Obviously, it's hard for us to go through each and every signing. There will be players, there will be teams, coaching profiles, tactics that we will have overlooked. But overall, exciting for a very open Bundesliga.
It is, and at this stage of the season, I did the same for English teams. You try to predict teams, you try to predict the surprises. You need some games to get it going. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is the day after Gyökeres made his debut for Arsenal, and some experts say he's gone. Yeah. And I mean, he's played 60 minutes. Right. Šeško came on, he touched the ball 4 times, he's gone. This is how our society is. We try to have a longer view on this. You try to adjust now. First of all, to the international break in September, then you will see the first half of the season. But wow, we're ready to go, Markus, and we look forward to our keep on growing community of viewers and listeners, and we love that you're there, and we love to have your comments. And as you have realized, we answer all of you, and we will love to hear from you. And auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen, and let us know your predictions in the comments below, and we will be there commenting, engaging. Let us know what you think. But for now, auf Wiedersehen, and we'll see you next week.